He's had a fantastic season. OG's been healthy. Scotty Barnes has been healthy. And the wins have just not come. They're playing a bunch of minutes. That's Nick Nurse's bread and butter here. We're playing my 7 or 8 guys, and we're going 36 plus minutes a night. But they're just not having a good year at all. Like, what have you seen that tells the story as to why the Raptors just cannot kick it into gear this year?
No, Chase, I think part of it is this core has been together for a while. You think of OG, you think of Siakam, you think of Van Vliet, you think of Chris Boucher, all these guys, Malachi Flynn. You just go down the list. Like a lot of these guys, great Trent Jr., been with this team for 2+ years. They've all seen a lot, done a lot together, and they offer a lot in terms of defensive potential, in terms of versatility. And the front office has made a point to build this team using good, solid guys, lanky guys that can assume a large variety of positions on the court. But at a certain point, I think there's diminishing returns with that. You look at their guard rotation specifically, and beyond Van Vliet, like who's the next guy that you would trust to handle the ball for extended periods of time? Let's say Van Vliet is out. Like who's the next guy that comes in and mans the offense, is a really solid floor general, can make great reads on time, on target. It's just, I think they're kind of lacking in that area a little bit. These wings can masquerade as point guards, but they're not point guards, even point forward might be a stretch for these guys like Scotty and OG and Siakam. They'll bring the ball up, sure. Like they'll get things kickstarted. But at the end of the day in the NBA, like you have to have a high level of guard play. And Van Vliet misses some games. He's missed, I'm not exactly sure how many games exactly, but he's missed some games. And then behind him, Malachi Flynn hasn't quite developed the way I think they thought he would. They do have Gary Trent, but I mean, Gary Trent is a gunner. He's a spot-up shooter. He's a guy that's going to be a little bit streaky. He's going to get you buckets at certain times, kind of like a Jordan Clarkson type of player. He's a good two-way wing, but he's not a floor general. He's not a distributor. So I think that's just a weakness of that team that I think's been exploited a little bit. I'm looking at their season numbers. Offensively, they're 13th, so it's not too bad in that regard. But defensively, it's 18th, and they've been 22nd over the last 2 weeks in defensive efficiency. So for them, I mean, I'm surprised to see that. I thought really it was be their offense that's more of a problem for them. But defensively, they're just not quite up to par. The center position is also another area of need for them a little bit. They've had some guys kind of go in and out, Christian Coloco and guys like that, and be decent, but like they need that long-term piece, like a Steven Adams, a Miles Turner, someone like that, a Zubac, that just kind of like a Brooke Lopez that's there in the post that you can just rely on to get stops at the rim each and every night.
Mo Bamba, maybe.
Who's that?
Mo Bamba. He's available. Maybe you bring in Mo Bamba. Yeah.
Sure. Some other guy they can go after. So those are a couple of things that stand out to me as to why they've been a little bit down this season. And the win differential is minus 3.4, which is worst in the league. So based on their efficiency differential between offense and defense, they're winning 3 less games so far than you would expect, which tells me that they've been losing some close games. So that's probably another part of it. They're not getting a lot of clutch play. Whether or not you lose by 20 or 2, and loss is a loss. So you have to be better in clutch time. So just a few reasons for me as to why they've underperformed. How about you? Is there anything else that stands out to you about what's lacking with this team right now?
Scotty Barnes is not ready to be like the league guy. Like I think there was a lot of optimism about just how good he was as a rookie, and then I think people went a little bit too far, and maybe there was too much on Scotty's plate where it's like he and Pascal are going to be this two-headed monster, and this group is just going to thrive together. And I don't think OG, Pascal, and Scotty can all thrive in the same ecosystem. And I think that's probably why you're seeing OG pop up in trade rumors and stuff. And part of the reason that Pascal is becoming an all-star is because Pascal's having to do a lot more. He's able to do a lot more. I think Scotty people had overplayed what he could be in this league. And I think I don't know. Where are you at with Scotty? Because I think a lot of this comes back down to him. Unfortunately, is like there was, maybe he's a point forward. Maybe they can really develop him into their own Kawhi, like starting from a really young age. They get him in the Nick Nurse eco chamber right away. You get a great some great vets around him with OG and Pascal, and like let's see what happens. And he had a lot on his plate. I think in summer league wasn't he bringing the ball up a lot there, if I seem to recall, as a rookie.
Big time.
And that's something that obviously they would love to do. And like you said, they don't have a lot of natural point guard playmaking at that spot. And
Right.
the hope was like either OG, because I mean that was years ago they tried him at summer league and he looked really good at
Mm-hmm.
point forward, and they've been looking for that point forward type to take over without Kyle Lowry and company, because Fred VanVleet's good, but you still want some variety. And I just don't think Scotty Barnes is there as a scorer and playmaker. And I just think there's too much on this kid's plate right now. So I think he needs more help. And I think they just need to shake things up just a little bit and not overcompensate. Like, oh man, none of this is working. We need to sell everything. It's just, I think you just need to move around one of those three, and it's probably OG of the three to kind of bring in some more vets, bring in some more help at guard, and you got to expand this rotation and have more guys you can trust if you're Nick Nurse, because you're really, really running these guys into the ground at this point.
Absolutely. Scotty Barnes is playing 34, almost 35 minutes a game. Siakam is even higher. So, I mean, I agree. I mean, at some point, you have to lighten the load a little bit for these guys because, I mean, we're getting all technical and we're talking about defensive and offensive efficiency and different play types and things like that. But it can really just be as simple as fatigue, if we're being honest. Uh, these
They're
guys are
20th
coming
in
up.
defense right now, which is weird based on the
Yeah.
personnel.
Right. And I think that's a big reason as to why, because you think about defense, and especially
Mm,
in today's NBA, it's so difficult to be a consistently good defensive team. There's
mm,
so many actions you have to guard. There's so many great offensive players out there. So, I mean, if anything is going to go as a result of fatigue, it looks like defense would be the first to go. Because if you're a step late in rotations, if you're not quite there, you're a step late to on a closeout
mm,
or tagging a roller or something like that. There's a cascade effect that comes along with that. And I like what you said about that roster balance overall. They were looking for that point forward type, and they have several guys that kind of fill that role in spurts,
mm,
but it's come at the cost of overall balance in the league or on their team. So you have a lot of wings. Where are you at with your centers? Where are you at with your point guards? They're lacking. So I definitely agree. I think it would help them if they shipped off OG. You even that out a little bit. You get some help on those other positions where you're lacking. Because those three guys you just mentioned, OG, Scotty, and Siakam, doesn't seem like their skill sets overlap, and
mm,
that's why they're kind of having trouble all establishing themselves. Specifically, Scotty Barnes.
mm. Yeah, I don't know. I think ultimately OG's out. I think he's the odd man out, is going to be my guess. But I also am
Yeah,
curious what happens. And they put a lot of eggs in the Otto Porter basket, and
they
he
did. That
going
was
down
unfortunate.
really, that was rough for them. They just don't have the depth, man. And I think they're just, and I mean, Kim Birch being not a factor and not a rotation guy anymore kind of caught a lot of people by surprise. Like, that's just stuff that it hurts when that happens.
I forget he exists sometimes.
Right.
Like Ken
And he
Burke.
was starting a lot last year. Like this
Yeah,
is just not he's in the doghouse and just not a part of this rotation right now for Toronto. So we'll see if that changes, but I don't
yeah,
know. I'm pretty pessimistic when it comes to that. Um on the positive side though, Philly has played really good basketball. James Harden's played really good basketball. We'll see if Joel Embiid is an all-star starter in the coming weeks, but I think he has a strong case for it. I think you could make the case he's been better than Giannis to this point this season, which is
sure.
pretty good for him. I don't know, like those early. It feels like forever ago that Philly was really really struggling out of the gate, and it was like,
Yeah,
what's happening here? Maxey being out with his foot injury, and you're like, this is a problem. I think things might get significantly worse. And then you had like what feels like forever ago. It's because basketball Twitter moves like this. It's just what was it? Harden was talking to who was he talking to in Houston where he's like, I'd love to come back or something like that. I forgot that
yeah,
report, which feels
yeah,
like forever ago that he was already planning his next exit and reuniting in Houston. You're like, what is happening? Why would you want to do that?
yeah.
Houston's a dumpster fire right now. And like what that doesn't make any sense. And also like you forced your way to Brooklyn to get to like it's just none of it made sense. And then he's like popping up in previews with M. Night Shyamalan today. It's just James Harden's all over the place. He's a hard guy to read. And
Definitely.
they're 30-13 as of this recording. Number 2 in the East. They're a team that I think some teams it doesn't matter where they fall in the top 4, right? Like the Warriors are in that zone. The Lakers, when fully healthy, are in that.